जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य आशुत्र श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चन्ना वृंद भक्ति विधान स्वामी जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Ajnanaतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपां साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते
गोपेश
गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। ताप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Screen. Oh. Start.
My great pleasure to be in this very, very, I believe in our, trip through the US last 15 days, when we hear about the activities of the temples from the fellow devotees, this comes out in my mind as the most vibrant, the most vibrant. It's like a beehive of activities. There will be less people today, but generally this temple is always pulsating with so much of high level devotional energy, and the net output of the devotees together is something which is remarkable. So I would first like to start by congratulating the temple management and Harivilas Maharaj and all of you people who are running the entire show of this temple, that you are able to create something which is worthy of following for the ISKCON world. Hare Krishna. So today we're going to speak something which is connected to Krishna consciousness in a very powerful way, though it may not be a direct thing, but the example is that if you have something very valuable in your life, you have a very valuable thing like a diamond, right? Now nobody will install a diamond on a plastic ring. Diamond must at least get a ring made of gold, right? Or if you have something very powerful like high priced ghee, something, you don't put it in a broken pot, you'll put it in a very proper patra, right? So discussions on family life are very relevant to all of us. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, thank you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Because without, even if you have the most valuable thing, you have a proper patra to carry it. Is it not? Without that it is difficult, right? Most jewelries are kept in proper jewelry boxes. You don't keep jewelry in your house hanging, from in your house anywhere. So the point we are trying to make is that anything valuable must have a proper container or patra, right? So Krishna consciousness is like the topmost activity of the soul, right? There is nothing superior which the soul can actually do in this material world than activities are related to his original consciousness. His original consciousness is, Prabhupada used to say this so very clearly, we all have consciousness, but what is our original consciousness? By the word original consciousness means, we mean like when the drop of water falls from the clouds, right? As it comes down, it will gather so many other gases, hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, whatever, right? Comes down, it becomes muddy. But originally the water, when it comes from the clouds, that is original H2O, correct? So we also have our original consciousness. And as we stay in this material world, like the rain cloud, like the rainwater, we get mixed up with this mode, that mode, this activity, that activity, and we lose our original nature, right? But our pure nature is Krishna conscious. So if that is so powerful, then you require proper patra to maintain it. So discussions for all of us who are here is important because we will all have to agree with one thing unanimously, is that we all enter family life. I can see everyone is a grihastha, right? Family person. So the question is, before entering into this bond of relationship, how many were really trained in this ashram? Trained to get into this place, right? And anybody here who was trained in some proper course or something? right? We do any activity, we require a proper training, right? Even simple things in our jobs, we require training, certification, extra, right? But the brahmacharis, they get training, right? But the grihasthas get. So how do we learn?
Trial and error.
Trial and more error, not even trial and error. So in that sense, for practicing devotees who are leading a very vibrant life in Krishna consciousness, they need to have a proper environment by which they can sustain and contain. So this is basically a sustainability seminar. Right? What should we do as a family which will allow our activities in Krishna consciousness to go on unhindered, uninterrupted? We call ourselves as Shuddha Bhakti means undivided and
Differences.
uninterrupted. So this will actually help us to go ahead with uninterrupted devotional service, right? So the challenges which can potentially come are to be discussed. What challenges can come about which can hinder this progress? And one of the major challenges which we have as grihasthas is that we are living with a person in our life who is our spouse who is very different than us. So we are living with differences, right? So even if there are two twins born of the same mother, sometimes we visit devotees, some of the devotees have got twins. And sometimes a boy and a girl, sometimes both are boys, maybe both girls. I said, so what is their, how do you find them, in terms of swabhav, how is the swabhav? I said, Prabhuji, swabhav bilkul alag hai. They are totally different people. They are same genetic makeup, same face, same hairstyle. Sometimes wear the same clothes to confuse the people, no? They wear the same clothes also. I said, you are, but as far as swabhav, right? So we all are different, right? And that does create a level of some amount of challenge, right? So today we're going to discuss how do we really live a life whereby
Screen.
whereby we do not allow those challenges to become a deterrent, right? Because potentially differences, when I say differences means what? Differences simply difference of various types, right? In ISKCON, of course, we have differences of wide variety, right? There are Indian boy marrying an Italian girl, or we have an example in our temple of a person who is New Zealander marrying a girl from Satara. Satara is a district in Maharashtra, right? And so on and so forth, right? So ISKCON is an international society, and even otherwise, even if it is not ISKCON, the cross-cultural marriages are very, very common these days, right? People marry transcontinental. Our parents would probably prefer that you have in the same caste and this and that, and that happens sometimes, or maybe oftentimes, whatever it is. But it also happens where are diverse people marrying together, right? So that creates cultural differences, food habit differences, so many differences. To harmonize that in such a way whereby we can go on our Krishna consciousness properly is what we're going to discuss today.
So we know that it is not that only in the grihastha scenario there are problems. Problems can be anywhere. Why? Because we are in a place of problems, which is the material world. When we go back to Godhead, there will hopefully not be any problems over there. Right? So to admit a problem or a weakness is strength. And to hide is what? It's a weakness. Usually people try to hide it under the carpet, nothing, everything is fine. On the face value, everything looks fine. But then one day it is like boom, everything comes out and people will wonder, Arey, these two people, such a nice relation they had, and what happened, They have divorced, right? So everything just starts from a small thing. Like, you might dislike somebody, you distrust somebody, then there is some dissatisfaction, right? Then there is some disconnect. And then what happens? You become distanced out because of disagreement. 5 Ds, right? There's dislike, distrust, dissatisfaction, disconnect, and distancing out, and then disagreements. So it all starts like this. It's all very small. But as it goes, the distance starts increasing between the two. So that is the challenge, that in spite of the fact that we are different, is it possible to still live together? We have to ask now that, it's completely different, I cannot live with that person. Many times we say, we cannot live with that person. So who is living together? Who is living together? Two false egos. We have our own false ego. Everybody has? If somebody doesn't have, we'll take the dust from their feet, One false ego itself is very difficult to handle. And then when two false egos come together, can we imagine how difficult it would be? However, in material life, when there is a conflict, what happens? You have to deal with it. But in spiritual life, not all conflicts can be resolved. So what do? You learn how to transcend it. Sometimes, not every problem has a solution, isn't it? We say, no, every problem, I will find a solution, I will find a solution. This girl told the boy, that after we get married, I will help you solve all your problems. So she said, but I don't have any problems. I said, no, I said after we get married. There will be problems, To think that we will get married and not have problems, and as they show in movies, and they lived happily ever after. Does it happen like that? We can, if we understand the tools by which to do. Everything requires understanding. Without understanding, it's very easy to say that I cannot. I can't do it, Sometimes people come and they say, we tried our best and we just cannot handle it. And then they'll go to the marriage counselor and they will tell, I don't like this and I don't like that and phala and everything. And they will say, okay, did you try talking it out? Did you talk to your parents? Did you talk this? And what all steps did you take? No, we have tried everything. Nothing works. Wait, excuse me, how long you are married? 2 months. 2 months we are married and we have realized we can't get along. Give time. Anything you can take decision in that quicker this thing. It's a marriage. It is not a joke or something. So sometimes we don't even give enough time. So we don't call issues in marriage as problems. What do we call it? Challenges. Because challenges have to be overcome. Problems can bog us down. I have problem, I have problem. So we understand that in the material world, when you have a problem, and in spiritual world, you have to learn to transcend. Why? Because we have the tools. We have Guru Sadhu Shastra to guide us. We have Vaishnavas to guide us. We have our own intrinsic understanding, plus we have the power of sadhana, which we are trying to do. All this could help to assist us to overcome the differences and be able to happily still stay together. Right? So that's what we thought that today we should discuss, that knowing that everybody is going to be different. You cannot find the perfect type of match. When people go for marriage in the matchmaking field, they will say, I want just like this, like this. Do you get like that? Somebody says, I want a beautiful girl, but she should be traditional. She should be working outside, and she should know all the housework at home, and she should also be submissive, and she should be like
take care of my parents.
Yeah, take care of my parents, but she should make good money also outside and all. So some say you'll have to marry 5 girls because you cannot get all in one. What are you asking for? You want a Miss Universe and you want Shantabai. Can't get a combination of 2. You have to be realistic in your expectations. So after all the R&D that you might do, and you come together, and then what do you find out? Oh my God, before marriage though, she was like this, or he was like this, and after marriage, he or she is like different. I got married, as there's somebody was saying, I got married to a Rasgulla, thinking I will be eating Rasgulla every day, and now every day I'm eating Karela, What happened, something altered. So it's all very different and rosy before marriage, and then when you really start staying together, there is all the challenges. But we still, it's not that, because challenges are there. A weak person gives up. I can't handle, I can't. Like I was like, when I learned how to do driving, the person who was teaching me driving was next to me, and when the road is empty, driving nicely. And when traffic comes, I'm leaving the steering, I'm leaving. I don't want to handle difficult situation. Say, park in this place. No, I can't do that. And it was going up a slope, the car starts going reverse, And then I would say, no, it's not my cup of tea. I said, you can't give up so easily. The fellow was telling me, you can't give up so easily. So, everybody needs a threshold. So, the fact is that we will have differences in married life. Everybody agrees to it? Can raise your hand? So, we would just like to, take up few of the differences which usually family life may we have, whether we are devotees or non-devotees. What are the common points on which we land up disagreeing? Any inputs? Yeah? How to?
How to leisure time.
How to spend your leisure time. Okay. Yes, Prabhu. How to raise children. Somebody thinks this is the best way. Have to be strict. The other parent will say, no, you have to be lenient, Yes, raising children. Food habits. As we said, cross-cultural especially. And even if you are from the same culture, no two people can make the same type of food. And everybody will say, my mother, how she used to cook. And the wife will feel, then you should have married your mother, I cannot make like your mother. Now she cooks like that after 30 years of this thing, she's become expert. When she was married even, she was like me only. Food habits. What else? Money. Finance. Money is sweeter than honey. How to spend the money, where to spend the money, how much to spend the money, right? All these could be, husband might be very charitable, I want to give this much donation, not so much, keep for emergency and all. Or the wife is a spendthrift and husband will say, okay, what about saving? We have to send to India, you are doing like this. How much to give you are sending too much to your parents and should not send and XYZ. Finances, what else? As devotees, we have difference of opinion or we agree? How much to go to temple, how much not to go to how much commitment to service, how much not to give commitment to service. So we just we thought we'll make a small list of disagreements. This is a small list.
Yeah, this is just a sample.
Yeah, this is just a sample. I don't know whether you can read, but yeah, you can't. There could be difference of opinion on, even if we disagree on whom to take help from. Okay, we have had a big fight. Then we'll have a fight on whom to take help from. Whether this one or this one. That could be a reason of this thing. The degree of ways of surrender, degree of compromise on the standards. Sometimes, you want to maintain some spiritual standards or standards of cleanliness at home. How much standard, what standard? You could have difference of opinion on that. Giving quality time to each other. The wives are always saying, Prabhu, you give me time. So sometimes when you go to their house and you ask, is Prabhuji spending enough time with you? So the husband will say, of course, I'm working from home only. And the wife will say, when? You are with your laptop and you are with the mobile, where are you spending time? So according to the man, he might be spending a lot of time, but for the wife it is never sufficient, that time spent. Difference in natural behaviors, difference in social, cultural background and expectations, health issues. Sometimes it is what? Difference is what? Causeless. It's just causeless, They say that if you are in family life and you don't fight or have difference of opinion or misunderstanding, it's like being in an ocean and not getting wet. Is it possible? For honest people, it is not. If you are dishonest, we can say, we never fight, We are perfect, this thing. It's a lie. All of us disagree, all of us. So to disagree is not the thing, how you handle the disagreement. That is the big challenge, right? So all these small petty issues, and it could, like one couple went to the marriage counselor and told them that I just don't like the way she does things, and I tried for many years to adjust and all, and now I cannot tolerate the way she, what happened, Can you give some examples? 100 times I told her, don't press the toothpaste from middle. You press it from the end systematically, so the paste keeps coming ahead. And she'll always press it from the middle. And this is just getting too intolerable for me. My tolerance is being tested, So I have decided we are going to divorce. This is a true case. So the marriage counselor had to tell that I have a simple solution for you. Both of you have separate toothpastes. Let her press from wherever she wants to press and you press from wherever. Let not that be the cause of disagreement between you. To say in the least, sometimes it could just be such silly matters, But in the mind has a magnifying glass inside. Small things are made into big. Oh, this is too much, this is too much, this is too much. And you land up what? Disagreeing.
Okay, so as we said, the list of disagreements can be practically endless. We can keep on taking feedback from all of you and keep writing sheets and sheets of paper of what that you have gone through, right, in your life. And yet, even though this sounds very, daunting, that so many differences, we're supposed to be devotees, right? The question is that to counterbalance that disagreement, do we really agree on anything or not? Or are we just always disagreeing? Do we agree on some things? So let's now have a different hat, okay? Disagreement hat nikal ke, now you have a agreement ka hat. So what do we really agree on? So with a sober heart, now think about that. You may read the slide if you want, or you can say without seeing without a slide. Either way. Yeah. So Prabhuji, what do you and your wife agree on? You agree with the in-laws? Ah.
Oh, you are a rare species,
wow.
Prabhu. That is one of the main causes.
Anyone any consultation on this matter, please, I would like to refer you to him. He's a specialist in in-laws,
that is one of the major disagreements which people have.
Wow. That's wonderful.
What else? To make
kids into, do you want to make them to ruffians, hooligans, drug addicts? Obviously not. We all agree that we are Vaishnavas, we would like our children to really take the path of spirituality, bhakti, devotional service, and become offerings to the mission of Srila Prabhupada. Is it not? Yeah. So we agree on that we would, even though we have differences in parenting styles, but the end result, whether this style or that style, the commonality should be that the outcome should be that they should become the outcome of what we are all willing and understanding that they should become actually people who are surrendered to Srila Prabhupada's mission, and the legacy should continue. Anything else we agree on? Devotional service is the only means of purification, right? Devotional service is our link with Krishna. Bhakti means devotional service, Prabhupada used to say, correct? So we want to agree that rather than doing activities which are based on sense gratification, because there are Grihamaidi and Grihastha. So Grihamaidi means their activities, they agree that their way of enjoyment in the world is through sense gratification. But we understand that we also want to enjoy life as devotees, but we want to enjoy through the combined act of devotional service by making Krishna enjoy, right? So yes, we both agree that we want to do devotional service. Important point, very important point. Anything else we agree on? Prabhuji, what would be your input? Surrender to the spiritual master, right? Those who have gurus, to their Guru Maharaj, and then they don't have gurus, then to Srila Prabhupada, who is the primary guru. Either way, right? So we all agree that Prabhupada is and will always remain, right, the beacon light for all of us to follow, right? Powerful thing, right? And all his desires and everything which he has said about what he wants to do is all embodied in his books. And the spiritual master simply carries forward that Vani of Prabhupada into our lives. Correct? So yes, Prabhupada is commonality. We have complete agreement on Prabhupada. Absolutely. No controversy on that. What else do we agree on? We agree on that we have the same Mahamantra, same mantra we should chant, or she should chant Om Sai Namaha, and I should chant Om Namah Shivaya, right? We all agree that there's one mantra which you always need to chant: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Yeah.
Hare.
So Mahamantra, Mahaprabhu's magic mantra, is a mantra to all of us to chant. The universal mantra. There's no other way to become purified in Kali Yuga. Mahamantra is the only way. Do we all agree that Krishna is supreme study of Godhead? Yes. Right? We all. we may say it very naturally, oh yeah, of course. But in the world outside, even in the so-called Hindu world, these are agreement, because we got typical Hindu temple means there will be, and everyone will be there. Or the entire pantheon of the Hindu Vedic culture will be there. All the demigods will be there, right? So they also don't know, right? Most Hindus don't know who the Supreme. I was born in Hindu family, we didn't agree. We didn't know who was the Supreme. But we are very clear now that these all great personalities are there, the demigods are there, they're worshipable, they're adorable personalities, but they all in turn worship whom? The Supreme Personality. They are not supreme, but Krishna is the Supreme Person. The Chief Minister and the ministers. He is the Supreme Minister. Right? So we agree that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? Krishna says, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. He is Supreme. Correct. Anybody else would like to say anything else on agreement points? We all agree that the Gita is the way, the light. Right? Nobody here says this scripture, that scripture. There is no confusion on scripture. Devi Puran or this Puran, that Puran. We agree that Gita and Bhagavad is the right path to go. Correct? So these are some important things which, even though we are discussing in a very simple way, and we are sort of nodding our heads in agreement, but we need to put it deep inside and say that yes, these actually, and therefore when you marry a devotee, many times the first thing you want to say is that whom do you want to marry? So what is our first requirement usually? We say, I want to marry a devotee, right? When we got married, 30 years ago, right? So my requirement was very simple. That I want somebody who is a sincere devotee, right? And if she is from the same caste, it may help me, but it may help my parents. So they won't have any, complications with that. And that was very simple, right? So yes, so we want to marry devotees. Why? Because we are in agreement on so many of these factors, right? So, the next one.
Yeah.
Correct. And more than anything else, there is something which is even more fundamental to this, which let us first absorb. Do we all agree that we want our marriage to work? So let's install that in our heart very strongly, right? With all that we are discussing right now, what is the purpose of discussing this today, right? The purpose that we want to consolidate and learn tools and knowledge and such skill sets which will help us to make our marriage work. Because that seems to be a big challenge in today's world, right? Yesterday we were talking to a group of people about this fact, right? Is that in America, the land which all of you are staying here, is that in the first year of marriage, 70% of the people go through 90% go through separation. This is statistics from the country which we are living in right now, right? So then people are even avoiding to get married. Why go through all the jhamela, all the complications? Just avoid, right? So given such high risk situations which we are going through, we want to safeguard our marriage now because it is such a high risk situation. It's, you go to a surgeon and say, okay sir, you want to remove this tumor, what are my chances of survival? You have a 9 or 10 chance of survival. And 90% of the time you will probably not survive. Will you go for the surgery? It's come to that now. People are not going for marriage because they know that the risk of not going through the marriage properly for a whole lifetime is very, very small. So first of all, let us be convinced and let us in our heart that we want our marriage to work and to sustain for the rest of our lives. In death shall we part. Right? So you want to sustain our relationship. And therefore, that is something which we all want to agree on. Ki, whatever is required, we say in Krishna Consciousness, Anukula Sankalpo, right? So same principle is universal principle. It's not only for bhakti, it is for general purpose in life. So whatever is favorable for my devotions, for my marriage to last long in a harmonious way, I will accept. Whatever seems to be unfavorable, I am willing to put my energy to keep it aside. So that is our basic agreement before we go ahead towards the next part of our talk, right? So otherwise, if we are not willing to put that energy and effort, as I said in the beginning, very beginning, that remember, we are doing this because we want to safeguard the jewel of bhakti which Prabhupada has given us. What is the possibility that we can safeguard bhakti with a broken marriage? Right? If a patra is broken, can you hold the milk or the ghee or whatever else is there? The patra is broken, everything will leak out. So, to sustain bhakti, we will have to have a patra intact and strong. Correct? So, that's why.
So as we said, that the mind has what? A magnifying glass. And every relationship, whether it is with on a professional platform, at home, with friends, it goes through what? It goes through valleys and peaks. Does it go? Anybody's relationship is straight and smooth always. Even best friends, you're almost on the verge of breaking up and then again you come back together. Sometimes you feel like giving up a particular workplace because you just can't handle your boss and then you still continue with doing it. So peaks and valleys are there everywhere. The challenge becomes where that in spite of all of that, it doesn't come to a point of breakage. And when will that be? Only when there is a love factor. When you have, there are two types of glasses, right? Magnifying glass and, convex and concave. So when you hate somebody, what happens? What happens when you hate somebody? When you hate somebody, you have enlarged Xerox. Whatever the, faults are there, everything appears enlarged. I don't like you only, Anything you do, problem. Anything you don't do, I have a problem. But when I have love for somebody, then what is there? There is a reduced Xerox. Everything appears, it's fine, It's okay, I can overlook it, I can accommodate it, I can adjust with it, I can appreciate it. This happens even before marriage in the stage known as infatuation. When you are infatuated with somebody, everything appears good. So nice, the way you speak, the way you walk, the way you talk, everything is so nice. And all behavior seems good and all, but the only problem is what? The shelf life of infatuation stage is very small. So when you actually get married and the reality comes in front of us, then it becomes, that, oh, can I go ahead with it or what will happen to it? So now we just want to understand that what would happen if I focused on the disagreement and what would happen if I focus on the agreement. Because the fact is both the things are there. There are 10 things I agree on, 10 things I don't agree on. But what will happen if I focus on the agreement? Then my marriage becomes happy and I am able to manage it. It is tidy. However, up and down it is, but it doesn't break. But when I focus on the disagreement, there are very drastic results that come about. What could happen if you focus on the disagreement more? Any thoughts? If you just keep focusing on the disagreement, what do you think will be the results of that in our married life? Disturbed. Materially, spiritually, everywhere. Right? If we are, you think you can chant your rounds better after a fight or if things are okay? You say, I'll take more shelter of the Lord, good, fight is good. Does anybody think like that? We're chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Why did she say that? Ram, Ram, Ram. I should have told that, Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna. Next time I will not leave her. Like those thoughts will keep on haunting our mind. You will not be able to get over it only. So you remain disturbed, not only spiritually, but even materially. Can the men concentrate on work? Women are also working, most of you. Can we focus on our work? We'll make mistakes. Either we'll be daydreaming or, people say, all well. You won't be able to work proper. You will make mistakes in calculations. Women will not be, they'll put more salt or forget the salt. Whatever, they'll burn the food. So many things will happen because you will remain disturbed. What else can be a result of focusing on disagreement? Pardon?
Resentment.
Resentment.
Yeah, resentment, right? So, as he said, when we got married, what was our emotion that time? We need to sometimes go into a flashback situation. Now, that love has turned into resentment, which is almost equivalent to hate. Right? So, how material energy and Maya can work, that the person whom you loved so dearly at the time of marriage, you're willing to, give anything to please her or him. Right? They become like your life and soul type of thing, right? But after a few years of this constant watering of the disagreement, right, can turn the table so drastically that forget the love part, we start hating. Don't talk about him. Don't talk about her. Oh my God. Even the name irritates sometimes, right? So that resentment there, it's so painful. It is so painful that something so drastic can happen in otherwise a previously beautiful relationship. It's very painful for them and for anyone who knows about what's happening in their life. Correct? So yes, resentment can take place. This is a stage which is usually just before they probably will, go their own way.
What else? Negativity. You'll end up wasting so much time in patching up and discussing the matter. You don't have time for higher things only. Like when we were hearing over here, so much services are there and food truck is going here and cleaning is there and weekly programs are there and Hari pizza parties are there and all. Said, I think husband wife here don't have time to fight only. They are so busy doing service. It's a good thing, They might not have... Yes. What else? What type of preaching does it do?
What happens to the community? What she is saying is, what happens to the community? Right? Now please remember, we are in a Krishna consciousness, we are not islands. You may be living in one place here, but we all are connected with a bond. We are the congregational members of this beautiful Nila Madhava temple. Right? And each one of us, whether we know it or not, is subconsciously affecting everyone else in the environment, in the ecosystem. Right? So as soon as we get to know such, disturbing news, right, everyone's consciousness gets disturbed. Oh my God, really? Aisa? Oh, this is happening. And the whole environment becomes full of concern and anxiety that how such a nice couple is going through so much things. So the community impact is, and it disturbs and it demotivates people. Just like a good marriage, same thing. Just like a good marriage of vibrant devotees who are, couple is very united, harmonious, joint in Krishna consciousness in a beautiful way, they can give us such a positive vibration. They say, oh, how wonderful these devotees are doing, right? And you get inspired by looking at them. Kya seva kar rahe hain? Kya devotion hai? Kya unity hai? Kya love hai? Prem hai? Affection hai? Right? At the same time, the opposite also will affect the entire community. Right? Entire community.
And we might try to give so much of effort in doing preaching programs, trying to make devotees and trying to preach to the non-devotees, trying to attract them to Krishna consciousness. And when they come to the temple and they see that there is so much of disagreement and fights between husband and wife, so what should motivate them to take up to Krishna consciousness? They will say, you are fighting with tilak, kanthi and all, and we are fighting without it. So we are same, almost. So sometimes it even does negative preaching, that with all the tools that you have, you are not able to resolve your own differences. Then what are you trying to help other people in the world? Right?
The true, the social scientists, there are scientists called as social scientists. Social scientists have figured out that one of the most powerful parameters of a successful religious movement, right, is how stable are the marriages of people who are following that particular movement. It's a very important parameter. So whether that particular movement will last or not, because they have studied so many movements have come and gone, right? Over the last so many decades, how many movements have come, so many movements have gone. So historically, those movements have lasted only when that movement had participants, followers, family members who had a stable family bond. And because when that happened, another thing happened as a consequence, is that the children took over the movement also. What is the probability that with this unfortunate resentment or disturbed situation, will our children take up this? Right?
they'll get so confused that what is Krishna consciousness actually? I see my parents go to the temple, they are attending Mangalarti, they are doing so much devotional service, they are even sitting on the Vyasasana and giving Bhagavatam classes. They will do Bhagavad Gita study classes, they are doing preaching, everything, and they come at home and they fight. So they get confused, what is Krishna consciousness? This is Krishna consciousness or this is Krishna consciousness? So that confusion which we are doing, and children grow up in from such a broken family, you can imagine. We have experiences, right? Either we might be one of the persons who have gone through this. Like when we always like to remember this. We had gone to a place and we were giving a seminar in Mauritius, and there were 200 people sitting in the audience attending the seminar, and we asked a question that how many of you all have yourself experienced happy married background from your parents? How many people have seen very happily married your parents were, and congenial relationship they shared? Would you all like to volunteer? How many of you all have seen happy congenial married atmosphere in your houses as children?
As you grew up, during your childhood.
Okay.
Half of you.
Half of you. In 200 people over there, 8 people raised their hands. What is the ratio? Only 8 people had seen that. Rest all had come from, disturbed families. So when I have seen only this, as the psychologists say, that if a child has grown up in a family, seeing fights and, hearing their parents say that, go to your mother's house, I want to divorce you, there is more probability of divorce in their life. Because that's what they've heard and seen at home. So what are we doing? Building our children's future or destroying it? Obviously we are destroying our children's future. So whether we know it or we don't, our life is so heavily impacting our children badly. No matter how much samskars you are trying to give them, you might teach them, put them in Gurukul or, feed them prasad every day and take them to the temple and all. But our example,
more than anything else.
More than anything is the biggest. Because for children who have innocent minds, their first teachers are their parents. And whether they are able to voice it or no, there have been children who have been only 1 year old. What can a 1 year old speak? But that child grows up very emotionally unstable. They become very insecure in life, throughout their life. They cannot take decisions. And if they trace it back, it is all rooted in their imbalanced upbringing which they have seen. The disparity which they have seen. Sometimes they say that there is sometimes hypocritical behavior in our parents. They might be leaders in congregation, but at home they are some different people, And they say, we don't want to become devotees. If this is what it means to be devotees, we don't want to become devotees. So children are affected. There is so much of distrust between the couple, Would you be able to trust if all the time you are harping on disagreements? You just can't, Whether it will. Not only that, today's medical world also, half the problems are psychosomatic. You say depression. People come with backaches to our hospital. Backache. What, did you lift something? Did you fall somewhere? No, nothing. What is the thing? Disturbed mind. The effect is on the spine. And they have backaches. This was unheard of before, right? But because of the body-mind connection, depression, stress, anxiety, panic attacks, people attempt suicides. All this is happening because of what? Same disturbed family, this thing. And not only that, unfortunate to say, because all this happens, then sometimes there is physical abuse also. Even in devotee community. We might feel, how can devotees? But no, in the private quarters, it's all inside the house. Spouses might be beaten up, right? Unfortunate. But we are carrying our past conditioning. It happens. First it comes to verbal fights, bad words. The same mouth which you chant the holy names with, bad words come out of your mouth, and then it goes into physical abuse also. And when all these things keep happening, what happens? The worst thing, all the deviations in marriage start taking place. Extramarital affairs. What do you think extramarital affair is? Something, if you have a great relation at home, will there be extramarital affairs? I love to quote this example. As children, when our parents used to pack upma or poha in our lunch box, what would we do? Open the box. Would you like to have? Anybody wants to share? You'll open up the box and want to share with everybody. But then if my mother gives me puran poli or pizza or spaghetti or something like this, what I will do, I'll just open the box little bit. I'll eat and I'll close it, because something which I love. I don't want to share it with anybody. I don't want others to see. But if it's upma and poha, I don't mind sharing. And plus my eyes will go into other people's dabba. What is your mother given? Is there something more interesting in your box than in my box? That's what is extramarital affairs. If I'm satisfied in my relationship, I don't need to look at anybody. Let it be Miss Universe or, Macho Man, whatever, whoever is there, But I am happy and I am satisfied. It's not that every beautiful person, you might land up looking at the person or some attractive, but our minds don't get disturbed, But when we are not satisfied, minds do get disturbed. And these type of deviations start taking place. Do you agree what we are saying? Are you understanding? So it is very, very important for us to stabilize our relationships. Otherwise, these are you say no, going down the horror chamber. All these things could happen and ending in divorce, of course. Single parenting has become like a norm today. And people don't even feel anything about it. Oh, I am a single parent. I am a single. 3 children I am raising. I am a single parent, 2, and I am okay. Right? People are okay with it. But it is such an unfortunate situation. In a school, a teacher asks the children, Dear children, can anybody tell the definition of joint family? And one child raised the hand and he said, my mom and dad staying together is a joint family. We may laugh at it, but it is so sad. It is so sad, For us, joint family meant what? Uncles, aunts, their children, our parents, brothers and sisters, our grandparents, In olden days, there used to be families of 50 staying together. And not that they had to be absolutely happy, but they were managing. Externally, everything looked, and it was not like at a breaking point. They were staying together. But now, even for 2 people to stay together has become such a big challenge. You sometimes say, for 7 janam ke sathi, first 1 janam you work it out. Forget 7 lives is a secondary thing. I have to try to work it out in this lifetime. To break anything, how much effort does it take? Nothing. What does it take? But to build something. Not that always we will get what we want, but when we understand that this is what Krishna thought is best for me. We say marriages are made in heaven, marriages are made, means what? That out of all the beautiful ladies in the world, Krishna thought this lady is best for me. And of all the handsome men in the world, Krishna thought this is the best for me. Then satisfaction. If I have satisfaction, then all these things do not happen. Right? So this was a very, very important point that we thought of discussing.
Take the next slide. So, we come to a very important juncture in our discussion today, where we have together, to some extent, taken an overview of the potential dangers which we have in maintaining and sustaining our relationship, right? And therefore, just like we put hard labor in making growth in Krishna consciousness. We get up in the morning, we do our sadhana bhakti, we do so many things to sustain our Krishna consciousness. The question we can ask ourselves is, how much effort am I putting to strengthen my relation with my spouse? How much energy have I put? Jai Shri Nilamadha Bhagavan ki jai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ji ki jai, Gaur Nitai ki jai. Yeah, this is what, in summary, what we talked about today, about the possibilities of this thing. So we would like to end up with one question, right? Is that how much energy are we going to put in this? Because hopefully we have understood and it has dawned upon us to some extent, even more strongly today, that this could be a potential area which we have not looked into to the extent we should look into. Right? It may just bring to surface some of the weak points in our life. So if we have done that, then with the idea that yes, what are the skills I need to have, whatever attitude I should build, right, whereby I can improve, right? What is the anukul factors, right? So we talked about patikul today, but what are the anukul factors which I should adopt so that I can have a growing relationship? So we would like to take that up, right?
Yeah. So as we, 1 year we had celebrated Sharad Purnima, and it was like a 2-day festival. And what we did on first day, Maharaj gave a class on what are the miseries of the material world. And that was the time when the 9/11 incident had taken place over here, and people were in misery, whole America was shaken up, and the firemen were the heroes, and all those discussions were done. And he said that tomorrow we will discuss about the glories of the spiritual world. 2 parts, right? 2 parts. One is what are the miseries of the material world, and second is what are the glories of the spiritual world. Why was this done? Unless you discuss the miseries of material world, you cannot appreciate the glories of the spiritual world. I don't feel like taking up taking up spiritual life seriously unless I know how miserable the material world is. So same way, discussing about these factors which become a challenge in our family life, we come to a realistic thing that these things are always there. How should I live with it? Like Corona time, we all have gone through Corona. We know what type of stressful situation. Everybody has minimum 10 stories to give. This one died. That one was in a panic situation. There was no bed available, and there was less deficiency of oxygen was there, and this and that. My parents were in India and I was stuck up here. No flights were there. Everyone has at least 5 to 10 extreme stories to give, right? That was in the first wave, second wave. People say there's going to be wave after wave. So are we going to remain in that situation only that, Corona. When we were traveling, people said, you're going to travel during Corona times. We said, how long are we going to just sit in the house? Life has to go on, right? We have to learn how to live with Corona now. And how do we do that? That is the part 2 discussion which you do. In Corona, how do you live? By increasing our immunity. It is the self-immunity which we need to increase. Medicines and all, how many medicines can you keep taking? People are taking like bowlfuls of medicine during Corona. I am taking this vitamin and that antibiotic and this injection and that thing and all. But can you keep having this much medicines every day? No. What helps? Prevention is better than cure. Unless we will improve our own internal immunity, we are not going to be able to. We'll keep living in, paranoia of Corona. Same way, what is happening in today's world, unfortunately, so many children, they just don't want to get married. And this is going to be increasing. There are articles written why people don't want to marry. Why people don't want to have children. Why live-in relationship is increasing so much. Because of all they keep seeing left, right, center, everywhere, My friend got married, they had a problem. In my family, this happened, that went wrong. Everywhere this is happening. So what is the pleasure? When we get married, what do we get married for? What do we get married for? Why did you get married, if I were to ask? Happiness. Simple. I want to be happy. Unless I am going to get something better, why would I do something? If I go to a particular university, why would I do that? Because I feel it's a good university. Why do I come to the temple? because it gives me happiness, right? Nobody comes and if I'm getting married tomorrow and I give you a marriage invitation, please come. I'm getting married. I'm getting married, please come. Do we give like that? We go and say, please Prabhu, please come to my marriage, I'm getting married, Would you like to come for, means that's my happiness with which I got married, right? And everyone thinks like that, that, oh, grass is always green on the other side. You see, have you seen people having one divorce? There's more likely they will have a second divorce also. They will have a third divorce also. Why? Because if I couldn't manage one, what makes me feel the second one will be better than the first one? There are increasing incidents today of people having divorced once, they remarry, they go through the divorce and they remarry the first one. Have you heard this? Because they come to the great realization that first one only was better. If that person is still unmarried, then, that is happening.
Or divorce from the previous one.
Yeah, that is happening increasingly. I mean, so many cases we are hearing of that and it feels surprised. It looks like a movie story, Oh, this happened like that, but it's a fact. It is happening like that. So that is the beauty, because just want to end with a small story. One time this one girl, she decided that life is too unbearable. She said, I am going to commit suicide. So she jumped from the 12th floor. She jumped down, and as she was jumping down, it's not a real story obviously, as she was jumping down, she saw on the 11th floor an old lady was sitting alone in this way. In front of her, her husband's photograph was there. He was no more, with a garland. And she was like crying. She coming down on the 10th floor, she saw a young fellow sitting with, trying to find a job, and he was not getting a job. So coming more down, and she saw somebody was miserable in this reason and that reason. As she was coming down, she thought that, oh my God, everybody has their own set of problems. I thought only my problem was the biggest problem in life. Maybe I should not have committed suicide. By the time she came on the first floor, dhad. She had already landed and she was no more. So all the people from the window came down to see, oh, what happened? And they saw that, life was not so bad for her, And they realized that maybe life is not so bad for us. So they started working out their situation that, okay, loneliness or whatever, let me just compromise and do some things. So this is how it is, Everybody has some problem or other in their life. Nobody will be there who doesn't have a problem. It could be health, it could be financial, it could be psychological, it could be relationship, professional, career, education, whatever. But still, we have to have that power of what? Bounce back tendency. The world has bounced back from Corona. Was it the end of the world? Though it appeared at one point of time that this is it, everything is going to end. Nobody on the roads and nobody was doing anything. We heard it was not so much over here. But in India, you should have seen, absolutely it was like, how could you even, I can't even find a word to say. It was a horrible situation. We thought I hope it doesn't continue like this only. But it doesn't, right? Everything, there is an end and we have to bounce back. So same way it happens in relationship. Because in life we are all like jugglers. You seen in circus how people juggle? So many balls you are juggling. It's like one ball here and one ball there. And what is required for a juggler mainly? Concentration and focus, and a desire to not let the ball fall down. So, if there are rubber balls he is doing, but if he is having glass balls, if a rubber ball even falls down, it will bounce back and you hold. But even in our life, we are juggling so many balls. Professional ball, spiritual ball, as a devotee, as a husband, as a wife, as a mother, as a father, as a daughter-in-law, as a this, as a that. So many balls I am juggling. But this ball of relationship is like glass ball. We have to be very, very careful, because once there is a crack, you may seal the crack. But it doesn't go back to absolute normalcy unless we put in great effort. There have been cases which are so horrible, but through proper endeavor, through proper counseling, it has happened. So, as he said, the first thing to resolve this is, which we'll be discussing in more detail tomorrow, is what? A desire to make my marriage work. That is the main thing. If I don't have a desire only, if I want to go shopping, wear and tear type of thing, right? Today is a disposable culture. We like to dispose relations also like that only. Use and throw. For some time I use it, then I throw it. I use it and I throw it. But doesn't work like that when it comes to relationship. So we have to give a thought to these things. What all I agree on, what all I disagree on, and my choice, what I want to focus on. Both will remain. Now I have to take a call, I have to make a choice. And how to make those choices, we'll be discussing tomorrow. So we would like to end here and take a few questions if anybody has. Comments or questions? Yes.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
You said that when we dislike somebody, then we focus more on the disagreements and the hate, and if we like somebody, then we focus more on the agreements and also on the good things that they have. Then why do in marriages we organically focus on the disagreements more? Because we were supposed to love that person, right? So why do in this case we focus on disagreements?
Familiar.
Why is it in the marriage that we focus, we started off very well to begin with, why does the mind seem to focus more on negativity than on positivity?
Disagreements. More.
Yeah. I said in the beginning that first of all it is lack of training. Right? We are not trained. If we were trained that this is going to happen, then probably we would become a little more alert. Right? The second thing is that the mind has a tendency to gravitate towards negativity faster than positivity. Right? What gives a more stronger experience in your life? Pleasure or pain? Yeah. You probably will not remember all the good episodes of life, but painful experiences, we forget. We don't forget. Right? So, the mind has a tendency to do that. Over and above that also is the fact that regarding negativity, the times in which we are living also, right? We are living in Kali Yuga. In general, the whole atmosphere is permeated with the desire to actually quarrel, right? The whole atmosphere is filled with negativity. So it's a Kali Yuga means Kalaha, right? Kali Yuga means Kalaha. So generally, that kalaha becomes our nature also. We just fight on the smallest things. She gave the funny example of the toothpaste, right? But we all laughed about it. But the fact of the matter is that it's not that it becomes a tendency to become a little cribby, irritated, disturbed on the smallest things in our house. Is it not true? Right? We are not able to handle the smallest things. And we just let loose. And the more important thing is, fourth thing is that we are not probably understood how to apply the principles of Krishna consciousness into our marriage situation. We often say that what we learn over here in this beautiful room, temple room, is theory. Through classes, Bhagavatam classes, festival classes, seminars, so many things. But where is the laboratory to apply that? Right? In physics, we used to have physics theory and then we had physics laboratories. You measure G, measure this, measure that, velocity, momentum, Coulomb's law, whatever, right? Where do we really do our practice to learn? Krishna has made it such a beautiful thing that your ashram life, whether it's brahmachari ashram or grihastha ashram, the ashram life is a environment where we're supposed to practice those principles of bhakti into our life. Now what happens unfortunately is that what we hear over here, we clap over the class and say, Prabhuji, kya class diya? Wonderful class. Thank you very much. Maharaj, today we are very enlightened about this aspect of Gita or that aspect of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? But are we aware that what we learn, how to apply those principles of bhakti into our daily life? How much are we able to apply that? How much does the jnana of the temple room turn into vijnana of our family life. Right? So if you were to have proper that application facility, then if you were to see negativity, if you have to apply Krishna conscious principles to that, you will not really get bothered about it. You will not worry about it. You will not act upon it. It will be a stimulus to see negative, but then your intelligence will say something better. Who sees the negativity? The mind. Correct? Who's above the mind? Intelligence, right? So what we learn over here is how to use our power of discrimination or what to focus on. Negative, positive, two possibilities. What should I focus on? Who's supposed to tell? The intelligence will decide that. But if the mind remains powerful and strong, it will keep on, as per their nature, to go on to negativity. But only when our intelligence is purified through proper hearing and application of Krishna conscious principles, we will say, hey, why am I wasting my time on this negativity? Why don't you just give up with that? Right? So it also means our improper knowledge to apply the principles of Guru Sadhu Shastra into our different aspects of life, whether family life, business life, social life, any part of our life. Bhakti has to percolate. Bhakti is like a hard ground, right? You put water over that, it will not really go to the roots. But when if you're plowing the field properly, then the water you put will go into right to the roots. So if our sadhana bhakti has not cultivated the soil of our consciousness properly, it won't percolate into our consciousness deeply, and therefore it won't bring about a change in all that we do in our life. It will remain only like a classroom activity. It will remain like restricted to, this is my spiritual life, this is my family life, this is my professional life, this is my social life. But will bhakti go into every aspect? It has to become wholesome. Am I making a point? Right? Do you understand? Yeah.
Also I feel, because between husband and wife there is a lot of familiarity. When you meet a new person, you try to be at your best. And you try to see only the good in that person, because you really don't know so much. And that's why in the infatuation stage, everything looks good. But when you actually start staying together, human tendency, nobody to blame, okay, why a husband thinks like that or wife. You just become too familiar with each other. And as he said, mind tends towards more negativity than positivity. So all the good things we will not try to focus on, but the bad things will become blown up in our mind. And that's why disagreements become more pronounced than agreement. Simple reason of familiarity. Haven't as children also sometimes we tell our parents, that her mom is better than you, like his dad is doing like this and all. But everybody is good in their own place, but it's just that, our own way of looking at things is like that. So mainly we have to change our way of looking at it. It's just change of perspective. It's a change of outlook, which we will discuss tomorrow. That how to look at it in a better way, so that when situations can't change, then we have to change our outlook and try to be happy in that situation. As we said, not all problems have a solution. It's how we look at it.
Any other query? Yes, Prabhu, please tell. Okay.
How do you translate?
Yeah, so he's saying something to the effect that all that you're saying is true, but I don't have the power to apply it. Kalatai means they understand, right? But when it comes to application, we fall short of that, is it not? Correct? So, yeah.
That's what we're going to discuss tomorrow.
Yeah, so that question is, you come to the right point of our discussion. That's good, we are talking about that at least we have come to the first part, Kalatai, at least come to that part first. Otherwise, as I was saying before, please have to understand this. We tend to keep this subject, into the loft or into the attic. We don't even discuss about this, right? We find in our society many times, and this is coming to light many times now. People are becoming a little more activated on this. That we discuss lofty principles of bhakti. About Prema Bhakti and this Bhakti, Raghunaga Bhakti, Vaidhi Bhakti,
Prema Tarangini.
and they know all sorts of analysis of the Shat Sandarbhas and what not we discuss. And it's like, wow, and it's very stimulating. Especially an empowered speaker who understands that all those Madhura Kadambini and this and that, and said, wow, kya lecture diya Prabhuji, kya jabardast, right? And it stimulates us like anything, right? But there is such a big disconnect between all those things which we are learning lofty and just missing out on basic human values. Basic human values, right? Like somebody said in our society, one exalted spiritual master said this, right? That first what happens, first stage is what? You are just come to the temple, do a journey of self-discovery course, you become a neophyte devotee. Then from there you become a little more committed devotee. Then you become a serious devotee. Then you become maybe a mentor, a Bhakti Vriksha leader. Then actually if you become very purified, then you become an advanced devotee. If you are really, really very renounced, you become a sannyasi. Wow. And ISKCON notices that you are a sannyasi, you are very powerful. You become a guru. Right? And then what happens beyond that? You become a human being. You become a human being.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Right? So this is not my words. So please don't quote me on this, right? I'm repeating, but wherever this was spoken by a very, very wise ISKCON spiritual master, right? He said, we have forgotten to become normal. ISKCON devotees need to become first, be normal, right? We think because we hear all these hi-fi classes, we think that we are very, very high, very exalted. Look at the books we have, what are the books we read, what do we discuss things, Shastri, Bhakti Shastri, then Bhakti Vaibhav, then Bhakti Vedanta, like that. And what happens in the house? Right? Kurukshetra. It is not Goloka, it is Dham, no doubt. It is a Dham. Bhakti Thakur said, Je dina grihe bhajana dekhi, grihe te Goloka bhai. So it is a Dham, but not Golok, it is like Kurukshetra now. Right? So the point is that we have somehow in the path of our progress in bhakti missed some basic things which we should have taken along with us. We disregarded them, we put it aside, and we think we are doing great on this front, but in the process we lost track of those support systems which are necessary for supporting what we are already doing. Like it's like you want to go on a great journey, but you forgot to take off the car properly. We don't have a good car to go on a long journey. How good your engine is and everything is good, but the car has to be good, right? Unless you have a good car, you can't go on a long journey. So our married life is like a very strong car, in which the passenger, the husband, the wife, and the children sit, so that the car can actually move on the Bhakti Vedanta Swami Marg.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, how to explain this infatuation to our kids, like it is special effect of Maya?
How to explain infatuation?
To our kids.
Oh, how to explain to our kids?
Basically, like when discussion is there, how to explain that, like why infatuation and why it fades away?
Why infatuation and why?
It fades away after.
Why it fades away?
And what is causing it?
So, according to, I will give you answer based on social analysis. Is all right? Because social analysis on the scientific basis, infatuation is a primeval primitive instinct between opposite genders. Right? The female monkey and the male monkey, they get attracted. the female dog, the male dog get attracted. So all opposite genders get attracted. So that attraction is, what is it? It is inbuilt, biological, it is instinctual. Isn't you getting the point? It is instinctual. So in one sense, you and I as man and woman are also animals. We do the pashu, right? Of course, we can always graduate, we have to go to a higher platform. But deep down we are also, there's an animal within us, right? So why was that instinct given? For propagation of species. Unless the opposite genders do not have attraction for each other, Krishna ensured that through that there will be propagation. They get attracted, they unite, and then creation continues. Right? Unless there was basic attachment to genders, you never come together, na? You'll be you not come together. So that infatuation is primeval for bringing the genders together. But that was never supposed to be, and human form of life, it is, as I said, very short. It is not something which is sustained. Then human being is supposed to use higher powers and intelligence to keep that same mood going on further, of sacrificing, of loving, affection. Then he has to invest more. That doesn't come in a natural way. Infatuation comes in a natural way. But if he wants relation to become sweet like before, then he needs to invest more in the relationship. Is it making sense? Yeah.
Should we end?
You had raised your hand, Mataji? You had raised your hand? No, okay. Fine. So, let us thank you all for coming, and we'll love to again invite you to come tomorrow.
Because the main part will be tomorrow.
Because that will be something which will...
Solution part.
Yeah. So today we opened our consciousness to open our minds to the awareness factor, and tomorrow we go to the solution factor. Right? Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanandi.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So this is the first part of the seminar, Living with the Differences. As you would have seen from their talk today, both Prabhuji and Mataji has decades of experience in counseling the Grahasthas. And let's welcome His Grace Dwarkadesh Prabhu and Her Grace Vishakapriya Mataji by loudly chanting Hari Bol 3 times. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So they are on a very, very tight US trip, and somehow they managed to squeeze in 2 days to visit Seattle. And both Prabhuji and Mataji are extending themselves. If anybody wants to meet them, already their schedule is little full, but we have few more slots available if someone wants to meet them and talk to them. So you can contact me or Nandarani Priya Mataji, and we'll be able to accommodate that schedule. And also tomorrow is the second session and as well as the last session. So I hope all of you can make it again. We'll see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.